Last time on Age of Darkness, Romance Twilight. The battle for the freedom of Lost Camp now behind our heroes. They sail back to the harbor. Meanwhile, they interact with the fighters of the battle, paying their respects to Sabrina for the loss of Pablo, aka A7. Lawlet gives Monroe a Denden Mushi that's able to connect directly to the slave trader Dullahain, but only while within Kano country. Another present, Monroe receives a gift card from the naval team to a restaurant called Banana D's, located on Tokojo, an island near Kano country. At the same time, Thomas pushes Riverstone for information, only receiving a hint towards his past. Nearly at the harbor, Bethany falls ill to a poison inflicted on him by Riverstone during the fight for the Dawn. Luckily, Anna, one of the Libre Luce, injects him with the same injection that another Libre Luce, Maria, gave Thomas, saving Bethany from the poison and giving Monroe the same shot as a precaution for the future. Finally, at the harbor, a reunion between family occurs as Alice and Sabrina's son board the Dawn. Together with the freedom fighter sisters, the three of you address the citizens of a freed Lost Camp. Alice calls on you, and each of you are given an epithet as you stand visible to the hundreds of people. The Monkey, Mighty Bethany, and Misfit Lau. Initially, they discount you due to your nature as pirates, but with the credibility from the Libre Luce sisters, they soon come to accept you. Alice is informally established as the president of Lost Camp, with her vice president and sister, Sabrina. Riverstone declares his continued loyalty to Kenway's ideals through preaching cryptic warnings of the world government and their soon-to-be threat to Lost Camp's newfound freedom. The new president decides it best, even through disagreement by the people. Nicholas, aka Riverstone of the Black Marble, will not be executed, but instead turned over to the world government. Once again, Thomas pushes the captured pirate for answers, finally getting something out of him, a place he spent years alone in called the Bermuda Square. Her second act as president, Alice, after grieving for the loss of her close friend and ally, decides it best to commission a statue for the fallen hero. Then to continue the festival with a feast tonight, declaring January 23rd to be Lost Camp Liberation Day. Everyone but the crew leave the Dawn and the delinquents are invited to the feast. With just the boys on the ship now, Thomas shows Bethany and Monroe the information gathered from Gotti's secret room under Kita's bar. Forming a plan, they want to learn more about this place called Thriller Bark, calling Luciano only to get a single phrase out of him before the call abruptly ends. Once things are decided, they head out, looking for a map maker, but instead find a superfan of Monroe, who helped to deliver the wood needed to patch up the Dawn. The ship now fixed, Alice comes into view, telling them about a place in the city where they can buy clothes and get washed up called the Got. There, they get to know each other a bit more while in the onsen and purchase clothes for tonight's party. Notably, it's shared that Monroe's homeland is that to be an elephant. Thomas and Bethany revealing women that are important in their lives, named Jessica and Lacey. Finally learning that George once helped Bethany hide away when he first entered the West Blue. This was before George lost a battle to Kenway. Making your way to the Dawn, you cross a club called the Weeb Taku. Here, Thomas sees the cheerleader woman, Andrew, that they rescued when they first arrived on Lost Camp only 3 days ago. She's performing as a background dancer on the stage for a woman singer called Lady Cherry. After this, you regroup and head to the city hall for the feast. However, with so many attending the party, it gets too tiring to wait for the line to move, so you look around for a shortcut, resulting in making yourselves late and crashing through the storage room while Alice finishes her speech. During the party, everyone has a good time. Monroe eats until he falls asleep, Bethany wears a pink bedazzled Speedo, and Thomas learns a bit of Alice's culture, among other things. Alice loosens up maybe a bit too much, Sabrina keeps her head on straight, and showing up late, Lawlet rebrands the words of Toroa to the Tamers of the West Blue. As the party concludes, a group picture is taken by a man with a long nose named Pin. Finally, the crew fall asleep. The next morning, after some wacky dreams, the crew go shopping, attaining some things that they need for their journey, then make their way back to the current leaders of Lost Camp. With a new map courtesy of Sabrina, the crew learn of a dangerous sea called the Bermuda Square, the same sea mentioned by Riverstone, prompting a swift interrogation of the former pirate, threatening Nicholas's life. The two of you learn of a man even more dangerous than Kenway, Koga. Mentioning this mysterious man's name in front of Alice, you learn of the possibility of him being a warlord. The three of you coming to an agreement, you decide against stealing the prisoner of war, Kenway's former right-hand man. With business on Lost Camp finished, it's time for you to set sail. Waiting for you as you reach your ship is Lawlet, who leaves you a cryptic message, chocolate. A single word to deliver to Kita if you happen to see him again. Seeing you off before you go, Sabrina leaves you a Denden Mushi to keep in contact with her, and by extension, Lost Camp, while also serving as a favor to contact them if you happen to find out what happened to the 22 people that were aboard Lost Camp's Sakura Odyssey. While in the Lost Camp harbor, Bethany decides it best to dive down into the wreckage of the Terra Incarnate. He surfaces sometime later with a few things in tow: Thomas's sword, a blueprint for Monroe, and a very small amount of sea stone to use in the forging of Thomas's weapon request. The island and ark of Lost Camp in the metaphorical rearview mirror of the dawn, the crew set a course for the Thriller bark, located within the Bermuda Square. Over the course of the nautical travel, the crew get into a somewhat rhythm of changing shifts through manning the dawn, using their free time, and sleeping. However, a few oddities occur as they sail. Luciano isn't responding on the Den and Mushy. Monroe and Bethany fight off an undead teenage girl. Thomas reels in a message in a bottle with a cryptic message concerning someone named Jill C. Anderson. A thick fog casts over the dawn as the ship sails past a lighthouse in the sea of zero visibility. A storm rages unlike any other storm the crew has dealt with as they navigate through a maze of waterspouts. And finally, with the island of Thriller bark within sight, it sits within the eye of this storm. The dawn sails closer to Thriller bark, stopping at a schooner where you reunite with a woman from Coraltown named Olivia. Her ship of researchers was ransacked by one man. His goal in hijacking her ship and forcing them to sail out here is clear: to use the map he stole from Olivia's possession to retrieve a devil fruit hidden away on Thriller bark. Now it's roughly 9:30 a.m. with the revelation in the air. Thomas having just dropped Olivia, Monroe caught her and is holding her over his shoulder. You stand on the plank, nearly on the dawn as he speaks.
Captain, I don't think George could have done this if he wanted to. It sounds to me like this guy was with her ever since Coraltown. I don't know why she would want to stay alone on the ship, though.
Referencing to what Thomas said at the very end of the last episode, which to your characters was only a moment ago, that she stayed behind on purpose and maybe George could have been behind this. Bethany leaves the helm and drops anchor, then walks over to the three of you, leaning against the mast as Olivia responds. It's not that I didn't want to go, I couldn't. Each of you knowing exactly what a devil fruit is. A map leading to a devil fruit was stolen from Olivia by this mysterious figure and is currently on Thriller bark, presumably with the rest of Olivia's crew. This time on Age of Darkness, Romance Twilight. The island of Thriller bark, just barely within view. What do you do?